That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Salem's Lot, the second film directed by Gary Dauberman, which just premiered in Los Angeles at the 2024 Beyond Fest. Warner Brothers has given it to Max to stream on October 3rd, 2024.
The director?
Gary Dauberman.
Do you know a Gary Dauberman film?
Well, he's worked a lot with James Wan and Associates, who produced this film. He wrote the last adaptation of Stephen King's It, chapters 1 and 2.
Okay.
Previously directed Annabelle Comes Home, and I believe wrote going back to the first Annabelle. So this feels like something that would be in his wheelhouse.
Okay, yeah. What is Salem's Lot about? Author Ben Mears returns to his childhood home of Jerusalem's Lot in search of inspiration for his next book, only to discover his hometown is being preyed upon by a bloodthirsty vampire. What is your pull quote?
Stephen King receives another R.L. Stine treatment with a third take on Salem's Lot, which, if anything, proves vampires need not only fresh blood, but fresh material.
Dang. Well, mine's not any better. To say this third adaptation of the Stephen King novel feels like a Lifetime horror film would be an insult to the Lifetime network. This shit was so basic to me. You said I've seen a previous adaptation?
You've seen the 1979 miniseries by Tobe Hooper, who did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I quite like, with James Mason. And then there was a 2004 TV version with Rob Lowe that I've never seen, but I saw you watching the sequel, Return to Salem's Lot, directed by Larry Cohen, which stars a fantastic Samuel Fuller, the director, Sam Fuller, playing a vampire hunter. It's a terrible movie, but he is so entertaining in that. I
don't know why we needed this movie. It feels like if you mix Goosebumps with Fright Night, but
I was getting the original Fright Night,
but it's not like fun enough to be campy, and it's rated R, but this could be a PG-13 movie.
I think something like even like that Jamie Foxx movie Day Shift, that felt grittier than this. Yeah.
And then it has, I don't know, I was also getting that Haunted Mansion redo.
It just feels, the Goosebumps, like, it just feels very adolescent.
Juvenile.
Because we spend a lot of time with these kids. A lot of the production design looks fake. So it,
But, kids imply to me sometimes that it'll be fun, but it's not fun. This feels very drab, like the Firestarter remake.
Yeah, that was bad too.
Like, I don't know why we needed this.
There are very few directors that I think that can properly elevate Stephen King's prose. And maybe in contemporary terms, maybe that's just Mike Flanagan, but
I have very few notes because this was such a thin story. Like, there's no development of anything. The premise I read is basically the movie. So Louis Pullman plays Ben Mears, who grew up in Jerusalem's Lot, and he returns to do some research. We don't know for what. We do get a little backstory on him, though, that his parents died in like a drunk driving accident. Like, they were hit by a drunk driver. And then there's this person named Barlow who has moved in to like the creepy house in Jerusalem's Lot, like the Addams Family. And he's clearly a vampire. We learned that in like the first scene, because his little minion, who's played by Pilou.
Straker, played by Pilou Asbæk.
He's his, what do you call, like, the vampire's familiar?
He's like Renfield.
Like Renfield, like, does all his daytime work. So we see the opening scene is him trying to get some local movers to move Barlow's coffin into the basement of this haunted mansion looking place. So obviously there's a vampire. Then we meet some cute kids, two brothers, and then this other kid named Mark, and I believe they're all like 11 years old. They become very fast friends, and then immediately one of the brothers gets taken by Renfield. Then the other brother gets taken by the vampire. So now those two are infected. And then very quickly everyone in the town gets infected. So we're left with Louis Pullman, this lady who he likes,
Susan, played by Makenzie Leigh.
Mark, the one remaining little boy, who I actually liked.
He was cute.
And then, of course, my favorite would be Alfre Woodard.
Dr. Cody.
She's playing the town doctor.
It is nice to see her.
Yeah.
Although I question why she wanted to be in
We will have to talk about that a little bit more. But the four of them basically are like, we have to kill these vampires and, of course, kill the master because they realize that they're just going to keep like proliferating. So then, of course, they try. The girl and Alfre Woodard, well, the girl is turned into a vampire. Alfre Woodard is straight up killed.
Yeah.
And then the two, Lewis Pullman and the little boy Mark, they are able to defeat the vampires in like a daytime showdown because they're all sleeping in the drive-in theater, but the shade from the screen protects them. But the little boy is able to tear down the screen. And then the final showdown with Barlow, the main vampire, was so uneventful. The end.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was it. Very underwhelming, which is disappointing because there are initial flourishes towards the beginning that I'm like, oh, there's an effort being made, like with the cinematography and the editing, because there's this segue from a box of matches to the staircase in the hotel that was very much giving a similar moment in The Shining.
I was excited because, like, what you're referencing, there are a few creepy moments with, like, some visual gags, but they worked well for me. I think the two kids being taken by the vampire in Renfield, those were creepy moments. And then when one of the little boys goes to find Mark at his house and he's floating in the window, that took me back to like Fright Night type. So I was excited because the movie looks like something on Nickelodeon to me.
It does.
So then I thought, oh, is this going to be like really subversive where it's like, it looks like a kid's movie, but then really gruesome things are happening?
Like that Lupita movie? We Are Little Zombies?
That's right. Yes. But no, it very quickly becomes really flat and yeah.
Well, and then you got all the Stephen King tropes in there, like these kids that become fast friends, and then
and there are bullies.
They're bullies, and again, this was even in the books that these are based on too. But it's because Stephen King uses a lot of the same kind of tricks and themes. But you know, this vampire that moved into the old antique shop, which is very needful thingsy, and I don't know. It just feels like if you can't do this right, we just need to lay this to rest. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with the book, and I don't remember watching the miniseries, I guess, but...
It's good. The Tobe Hooper miniseries.
But in this movie, the rules for the vampires are so weird to me. First of all, they're so easily dispatched. Sometimes they act like zombies, and then
annoying, yeah.
Sometimes they're like fully functioning. Then it seems like anything in the shape of a cross. Anything. 2 pencils, tongue depressors, 2 maxi pads, anything in the shape of a cross.
That's bound. It has to be bound by tape.
It has to be bound and it has to be blessed. But a blessing could just be like, please God, kill these vampires. Just holding up this cross, for some of the vampires, literally from a distance, they explode.
It's like you turned a hurricane level leaf blower on them.
Yeah, and then for some of them, it does nothing, particularly Barlow. Barlow's not affected by the cross, so I don't understand that. And then the effect of the cross is that it glows, which gave me the same feeling of the first Twilight movie, because I hadn't read the books.
With the glitter.
And I didn't know that they glitter in the sun. I was almost that shocked in this movie. Like, why are these crosses glowing like that?
I know, which is so funny because I know that Dauberman the director was going around saying that he wanted to make vampires scary again. It's like, well...
He failed because, really, the only one that kind of looks good is Barlow. But then Barlow looks like Bonnie Aarons as the nun.
And also a little bit of Art the Clown.
Yes.
I thought too. Again, the less you see is better. And I don't know if this Barlow is kind of a mixture of CGI and practical or makeup effects, but he looks a bit too smooth sometimes too. I don't know, just everything looks too glossy.
Well, the entire town looks like, there are some shots of Barlow's mansion that look like it was a painted backdrop. And then there are some shots that are so obviously green screen. Like you can just see the 5 actors standing on a stage with green screen around them. So I was not impressed with that.
But it takes you out of the fact that it's supposed to be the mid-70s.
And then I had to remind myself several times that we are not in modern day. It's just nothing clued me in because everything just looks so fake.
And there's lots of weird, creepy shit from the 70s that you can use, but because I happen to remember that James Wan in the first Conjuring used Hurdy-Gurdy Man, and that is used again on a jukebox in this film. And then the only other notable song that I remember is they twice used Sundown by Gordon Lightfoot towards the beginning and at the end of the film. And it's like, it doesn't quite fit the vibe, because that suggests a kind of... there's a sort of fun to be had with it, with the Gordon Lightfoot song. And that is, there's nothing easygoing or light or fun, and it's not scary. So I'm very confused about what the tone of the film is, in other words.
Oh, for sure. And then, I'm not familiar with Stephen King's books, but it seems like from the Stephen King adaptations I've watched, we have, there's a healthy amount of characters usually. And then it's like in this movie they're not developed. Like we have the town preacher who's like a full-on drunk. Like he's like a full-on drunk. We first meet him because he's been put in jail to sober up. Like, okay, well, I don't know what purpose he served because he's not a believer.
Well, in the previous two adaptations being made for television, clearly toned down the sexuality that's apparent, and I don't remember a lot from the book because it's been two decades since I read it, but I remember there's a lot of sexual stuff, as is King's forte, and I don't know. It's just the approach to this is so odd to me. But it's like they wanted to remake this film, but they remade it like it's a television film again, like with those parameters.
Sure.
Because you can have violence. I don't know. It's just.
I think the worst scene is the key members are starting to realize they're vampires, and then they go to Alfre Woodard, the doctor, and she's skeptical, but she says, well, let's go check on, because you're saying this kid is a vampire and that he took his mom down, so then let's go see her body, and if she's still there, then we can confirm that there are vampires. So they go to this other morgue or something to go visit this other body, they being Alfre Woodard, Louis Pullman, and his little girlfriend. And I just thought that was such a crunchy scene because Alfre, and I really, really, really like Alfre Woodard, but I thought in this movie she seemed a little off.
I couldn't tell if she was trying to do a Maine accent or something.
Yeah. But she's doing something with the body, because this deceased body, and then all of a sudden it starts moving. And then it gets up in sort of a comical way, but clearly it's not trying to be funny. And then she's freaking out. And then they're like, we got to make a cross. So she grabs tongue depressors.
And tapes them together.
And they bless it. And then it kind of works. But then the vampire attacks Alfre and bites her in the neck. And then this really confused me because Alfre's like, grab me my purse. And then she has the girl grab a vial and pull to give her an injection. And we find out that it's a rabies inoculation or something. Mm-hmm. And she says, well, that works on animal bites if you do it fast enough. Mm-hmm. And then it does work. And then they test it by putting the cross on Alfre. Mm-hmm. But we had already been told earlier that the vampires, it takes a while for you to turn.
Well, they leave it open. They say it can take minutes or days or something.
I thought that was so cheesy.
That's cheesy, but once we know that Alfre's fine, wouldn't you be asking to get some of that rabies, like a vaccination? Wouldn't be give me some of that? Because
then old girl, Louis Pullman's little girlfriend, gets bit. And then Alfre's like, well, we got to kill her.
Mm-hmm. She's too far gone.
Because we don't have any vaccine. I thought that was ridiculous. I'm sorry I didn't like this movie because I really thought I was going to get something very different.
I mean, and the tagline is just inviting derision, too, because it's be careful what you invite inside. Well, yeah, this movie to stream on...
Oh, my final note was the way Alfre gets killed is, I think is it the girl's mom? Oh, because now Barlow has a new Renfield, and it's Louis Pullman's girlfriend's little mom. Mm-hmm. And she shoots the hell out of Alfre Woodard. I mean, they blow her to smithereens. I didn't appreciate that.
I didn't either, because it's she's the only thing keeping me holding on to finishing this film at this point.
And I haven't seen someone get shot that way, one shot and she just flew and exploded. That seems so unnecessary.
It did lose Pullman screaming, Dr. Cody.
I don't have anything else to say about this movie.
It's just, I don't know.
It's pretty bad.
But I'm not surprised though either. It's just, I think, I don't know.
What would you give
We need new things. New things, please.
Salem's Lot, also known as Jerusalem's Lot?
1.5.
Yeah, I would also give this 1.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.